Hi, my name is Robert. Please read the comments in the About section of this video. It has valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video that I encourage you to watch. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you found what you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about boost leaks and why I think you should fix them if you have them. The number one way to know you got a boost leak, your idle's high. My idle is usually high anytime I have a boost leak. Even if I have a little one off the vacuum tree, my idle high. And then you'll get a running rich or running lean code usually, like a P172 or P171. So if you have a high idle and you get one of those codes, running rich or running lean, I strongly encourage you, take it easy on your turbo until you get that figured out and get it fixed. The best way to figure out what it is to get it fixed is to have it smoked. You need smoked pumped in behind your mass airflow sensor through your intake piping and turbocharged piping system. And anywhere you find a leak, you need to get that leak fixed. Help your turbo last a lot longer. Now, most of you all are not running tuned cars. You're not pushing a lot of boost, and you have stock turbos, which is great. The manufacturer does not take these turbos that they installed to these things to the limit. However, as your turbo ages and it doesn't spin as smooth and as fast as it did when it was newish, boost leaks could wipe it out. I put a modified turbo in Red Baron. And as you may know, that turbo didn't last, I don't think it lasts 7,000 miles. So I removed the turbo. I sent it to the turbo guy that rebuilt it and modified it to perform better. And he said that turbo had been overspun. We had not been running real high boost on there, so I kind of questioned how could that thing have been overspun. Overspun means it's spinning at too high of a RPM. Let's just say, for example, the turbo that was in there was designed to spin at full boost for the car that it was manufactured for. Let's say that boost pressure was supposed to be 12 psi on those S60Rs and those T5s. And at 12 psi at a higher RPM, when it's producing most of its boost, let's say that turbo spins at 150,000 RPMs to produce that boost. Well, you know, the manufacturer said 150,000, it can handle that. Lasts 100, 200,000 miles. I don't know of too many of those turbos that last more than 200,000 miles. I see a lot of them going out around 150, 180,000, where they need to get them rebuilt. Anyway, let's just say the manufacturer said, man, they'll get 200,000 out of it, boosting occasionally at 150,000 RPMs, and that's good to go. Go ahead, put it in there, last couple 100,000 miles, great. Well, if you come along, or I come along, and we say, man, you know, 12 PSI is fun, but 18 or 20 PSI would be funner. Now we're talking about increasing the boost pressure on that turbo from 12 psi, 18 or 20 psi, 50% more psi pressure. Now, for that turbo to produce more pressure, guess what? It has to spin faster. So now, instead of a turbo that was designed to spin at 150,000 RPMs, it's spinning at 180,000 RPMs to get that extra PSI. Is it going to last 200,000 miles? Probably not. So there you have it. Now, to add another level of complexity to that, let's just say you have a boost leak. Now, in the past, I've had a boost leak the size of that vacuum tree hole right there. That boost leak was costing me 2 psi. I was boosting at 7 psi. I put a cap on it. I was immediately boosting at 9 psi, 9.5. So a little boost leak like that could cost you a couple PSI on a weak turbo. Now, if your turbo is good and strong, it should be able to boost past a little boost leak like that. Let's say, for instance, you get a bigger boost leak. Now, you take that one. Let's see how this goes in here. So I got this little piece of metal. It fits in there, kind of fills it up halfway. Now, let's go over here, where this vacuum is 3 times bigger. Now, instead of it being a 2-3 psi boost leak, now you got a 5 or 6 psi boost leak. Now, this line had come off on my car. I knew something was wrong because my car was idling high. That line came off, leaking directly into my intake manifold. But when I go to boost, now my turbo has to send more volume of air to compensate for that vacuum boost leak in the event that I'm trying to get my maximum boost. So on my car, my boost is set for 15 psi and originally came with 10.3, 10.5 psi. I got it set to 15. However, I got a different wastegate actuator on there. That wastegate actuator is not as fast as a Volvo one. I get boost peaks at 20 psi on a normal. So if I'm driving along, I downshift, I punch it, it'll go up to 20 psi, hold 20 psi for a couple of seconds, and then it'll slowly bleed down to 15 psi in 3 or 4 seconds. So for 5 seconds, I'm over boosting what I'm set to boost at, 15 psi. Another thing about these old Volvos, they do not have a fail safe to protect your turbo, some things like that. So I got a turbo that's bigger, so it can handle boosting 15 psi a lot better than my 15G was. I no longer have a 15G in here, I have a 19T, a lot bigger turbo. So for a 15G to produce 15 psi, it might have to spend 180,000 RPMs, maybe 200,000 RPMs. This 19T doesn't have to spin as fast to get that same PSI. However, you add a little boost leak like back there on the vacuum tree, you add a big boost leak like over here on the end of this intake manifold, the end of the intake manifold cap's loose, that's a boost leak. Now, instead of that turbo spinning 180 psi to get that 20 psi and bleed down to 15 psi, it might have to spin 200,000 RPMs to get that same 20 psi for a few seconds. Spinning that turbo, working it hard. Instead of that turbo lasting 150,000 miles, compensating for these boost leaks, it may only last 100,000 miles. That's good for a turbo that you get performance out of, but it's not 200,000-300,000 like the manufacturer desired. Now, to bring this to a close, let's just say every turbo has its thermal breakdown, viscosity, whatever it is, limit. Let's say it can handle 150,000 RPMs all day. You know, I'm not driving that fast all day, but let's just say it can. Let's say it can handle the occasional 180,000 RPMs to make that 20 psi boost and then bleed down to 15. That's okay. It'll still last a long time. However, if you got that boost leak, another boost leak, some other leak going on, like something as big as your brake booster line, that's 3 times bigger. You hammer it, your computer doesn't have a fail-safe, you may clock that turbo up to 220,000 RPMs. Boom. Turbo wasn't meant to handle that. Turbo can't handle it. You instantly in one pull, trying to get away from a Mustang or something. Burn up your turbo, one pull. I didn't know it was possible. However, my guy Tony that built that turbo for Red Baron, I've been running several of his turbos. Never had a problem with one of them. Tens of thousands of miles. That turbo in Red Baron didn't last 6,000-7,000 miles. He said it was overspun. You know, I kind of doubted it, but now I'm kind of wondering, because there was a time or two that car may have had a boost leak. Intercooler piping come off. Okay, so let's say like this. And this is one of my pet peeves. I don't know why people do it. They always do. I don't know why, but they always do. They make a homemade intercooler piping. I don't know why they do. I see them things loose all the time. Okay, let's just give an example. Red Baron has a unique engine in that car. It's got the 2.4. The intercooler system I bought in there came from an aftermarket company, and I purchased an aftermarket rip kit. The hoses to the rip kit was made for the body style, but it wasn't made for the engine style. It's a freak deal I got going on, so I need something custom. So we put a hose coupling on there to make it work. We're going down the road, hammering it, boom! It blows the intercooler piping rip kit loose. If we were spun up around 200,000 RPMs on that turbo, up around 18 PSI, and we were full throttle, and that pipe popped loose, and we still trying to go full throttle, it may have went from going 200,000 RPMs, or let's just say 180,000 RPMs, to 220, 250,000 RPMs, just like that. Boom, blew the turbo. Now we're driving around with a broke turbo. It overspun, overclocked. Now it's leaking oil. We don't know what the heck's going on. That surprisingly, the turbo was still building 15, 18 PSI, even though it was blown. I don't know how blown it was, but it was blowing oil out the back. Kept getting worse and worse. When I finally checked that turbo, it had so much shaft play up and down. I was surprised we were getting any boost. I was surprised the turbo was still working. Turbo was still working. However, it was blowing oil down the exhaust like I've never seen before. So, turbo had to be rebuilt. Pulled it off, send it in, get rebuilt. I said all that to say this. Fix your boost leaks. And be careful if you're running homemade rip kits, because you could be in it, have one of those pipes come loose, stay in it for a couple of seconds trying to get your boost, and that turbo could just overspin. I didn't know it. I talked to my mechanic yesterday about it. Just in theory, he said you could blow a turbo in 3-4 seconds. Gone. Because it overspun. So I want to encourage you guys, fix your boost leaks. Hope I wasn't boring you, but I just wanted to help you understand, if you got boost leaks, that turbo has to spin faster to compensate for those boost leaks. And if you don't have a fail-safe system that's monitoring that and that kicks that boost way down when you got a problem, you're probably going to wear out or damage your turbo. Thanks for watching. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.